So, okay, we are here at chapter 13, designing and managing services. So, let's start our chapter. So, the questions that we are going to discuss in this chapter are: what are the characteristics of products and how can they be classified? How can companies differentiate products? How can a company build and manage its product mix and product lines? How can companies combine products to create a strong co-brands or ingredient brands? And finally, how can companies use packaging, labeling, warranties, and guarantees as marketing tools? So these are the questions that we are going to discuss in this chapter. So let's go ahead and start. So the first concept is the service. We have this huge new version of marketing and basically products that are dealing with services. Basically, there is this belief that in our century, basically, the major concern of the company is on service, because products are pretty much common everywhere, is exactly the same. So the only way for us to differentiate is by service. So what do we mean by service? Any act of performance that one party can offer another that is essential, intangible, and does not result in the ownership of anything. Its production may or may not be tied to a physical product. So as you can see, the only thing about service is it doesn't result in ownership of anything. You don't necessarily own anything. It could be tied into a physical product, or sometimes you're just buying the service itself. So it's a very huge market everywhere around the world, because end of the day, as companies grow, as markets grow, as the demand of the customers grow, what happens is people, the customers, would become much more demanding regarding the service part. They require better service, better quality of service, more amount of service, a more different type of services. So basically, that's one of the major venues for the future. And a lot of companies are going into service. Okay, so what are the service sectors? We have the government, we have the private or non-profit, the business, manufacturing, and retail. So these are all different types of service providers that are around, and most of services that we are dealing with would be a subcategory of one of these guys. So, okay. What are the categories of service mix? We have the pure tangible good, we have good with accompanying service, hybrid, service with accompanying goods, and pure service. So what do we mean by each and every one of them? By pure tangible good, we mean the offering consists primarily of a tangible good, such as the soap, salt, or whatever product is just tangible. It's pure tangible. It's just a product. Then tangible good with accompanying services. Offering consists of a tangible good accompanied by one or more services. Typically, the more technologically advanced the product, the greater the need for a broad range of high quality supporting services. Services are often crucial for cars, computers, cell phones, and etc. So it's just self-explanatory. You have the product, it comes with a kind of service because it's complicated, it's like computer or cell phone or whatever. Hybrid is the offering consists of equal parts goods and services. For example, people patronize restaurants for both the food and its preparation. So it's like hybrid is when the service part is as important as the product part. Because let's say for the previous example, which was the accompanying services, sometimes you buy the product from one company, and then you decide to take the service from some other company that you find better in service. For example, you will buy your computer from, let's say, a certain company, let's say HP, but you will go and guarantee that HP and ensure that the computer for services through another servicing place. So, but in hybrid, basically they are so intermingled, like that restaurant example. When you go to a restaurant, the service they provide is as important as their food. You can't just say, okay, they have great food, terrible service. Doesn't make sense to go there. Then we have service with accompanying goods. This is when the offering consists of a major service along with additional supporting goods, like trips, like when you take a trip, it's mostly service, but they give you snacks, they give you certain products, maps, brochures, and everything. But the whole idea is that trip, when you're taking taking a package from a travel agency, you're buying their services, but they probably give you some products, some snacks, sandwiches, stuff like that. And then last but not least is the pure service. Pure service is the offering consists of primarily of a service, includes like babysitting, psychotherapy, or massage, or whatever. Just service is what you're buying. And that's very common nowadays. It's like the new era of the business, and customers are very concerned about pure services nowadays. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Service distinctions. Okay, we have equipment-based or people-based service processes. We have client presence required or not, personal needs or business needs, objectives and ownerships. So basically, these are all different concepts that take place. Some of them are equipment-based, like car washes. Some of them are automated. You don't need a person. Some of them are people-based, like window washing, accounting services. Sometimes the companies can choose among different processes to deliver their service. Like restaurants have developed cafeteria style, fast food, buffet, all these. And services needs client's presence, some of them. Like brain surgery requires the client's presence. You can't have the brain surgery without the client. Or a car repair does not, so there are differences. Then they might meet a personal need, like a personal service, or a business need or business service. So, or they might be for different objectives, like profit, non-profit, and also ownership, private or public. So these are all different types that are happening, and so they are pretty common, distinctive characteristics of services. Okay, so now we go into a more detailed version of distinctive characteristics of services. So the first one is intangibility. Services, services are intangible. They are not products. You can't own them. You can't see them. They're not physical. They are just something you use probably or benefit from, but it's not tangible. Then they are inseparable. They are not. You can't separate your service from your. They're attached to the goods and product. So it's they are attached, and not necessarily we can separate them. And then we have because they are not inventory, they are not the way that most of the physical products are. So is part of what you get. And then they are variable. Variable in the sense that the quality of services depends on who provides them and when, where, and whom. Services are highly variable. Some doctors have excellent bedside manner. Others are less empathic. So it's like different kind of services for different service providers, and they're perishable. Services cannot be stored. They are perishable. They die out. The demand for the service fluctuates. Sometimes there's a very high demand, so there's a low demand. Then, like, let's say a good example is the public transportation. The rush hour, the demand is much higher than like a normal hour. So you can see how different they can become according to the different time of demand. What about projects, for example, being hydro power stations? Projects like that kind of projects, construction projects, they have services involved and they have products involved. Let's say when you create a hydropower station, that hydropower station is something tangible, so that's a product. But services is how you create. The process of creating that is like that process as a whole. There are services involved also. So as you can see, sometimes services are attached to the product. The final product will not be obtained unless there is service provided. You can't create that hydropower just out of nothing. You should do the services. You should create and do the services and then finally get the product. So to answer your question, some part of it is service, some part of it is the product. The hydropower station themselves are the products because they are tangible, they're physical, they can be stored, and that's how you can say something is physical or not. But when you have a distinctive characteristic of service available, which is intangible, inseparable, variable, and perishable, that service. So the process that they were creating those hydropower, that part would be the service. Okay. So we go to the next slide here. Physical evidence and presentation. Okay. So we have these fall under the intangibility. There is a place, the exterior and interior should be clean lines, the layout of the desk and the traffic flow should be planned carefully. So waiting lines should not get overly long. These are like place of the service. So when service companies can try to demonstrate their service quality throughout physical evidence, So basically, it's true that there is no physical, tangible product given to you when we are doing the service, but we can still demonstrate the quality of service in a physical evidence and presentation, So the place that the service is provided should be clean and tidy, If there is a line, the line shouldn't get long. Then the people, personnel should be busy, but there should be a sufficient number of employees to manage their workload. So, of course, you want your employees to be busy. You don't want your employees just to hang out there and do nothing. You want them to work, but at the same time, you want them to be able to manage the workload. You don't want to have them work like for so many different customers, so that the customers get annoyed because they're waiting in line for so long. That's what you don't want to do. Then equipment, computers, copying machines, and desks should look like a state-of-the-art kind of thing. It should be modern. It should be presentable. Then communication material, the printed material, text and photos should suggest efficiency and speed. Then symbols you use, like the name and symbol could suggest fast service or slow service, like banks. Basically, they are providing services, but look at them. They are providing those services in banks. So They are dealing with money, but they are basically providing services. There's a price, like the bank could advertise that it will deposit a $5 in the account of any customer who waits in line for more than 5 minutes. That was the case for Wells Fargo, for example. I mean, not anymore because, it was very costly and it's not possible anymore. But but now they are providing other types, like they send cards to some customers to give them like cash deposits. They just bring that card. It's like they just deposit it, and it's like they earn that cash and stuff like that. But so there is price involved in the physical evidence presentation also. How to increase quality control. We talked about quality control. We talked how quality is important, and basically, my first book that I published just recently is about quality improvement, and it's how we can improve quality in education sector. But generally, how to increase the quality and how we can control that. It has a lot to do with services. We need to invest in good hiring and training procedures. We need to train people sufficiently and broadly enough to enable them to work properly and provide a good service. We need to standardize the service performance process, and we need to monitor customer satisfaction. So basically, we need to see if the customers are satisfied or not, and how we are going to be able to satisfy the customer. Okay. Matching demand and supply. So when it comes to services, as it comes to anything else that we provide for customers, there is a demand side and there is a supply side. So the demand side is differential pricing, non-peak demand, complementary services, reservation systems, and the supply side, part-time employees, peak time efficiencies, increased consumer participation, shared services, facilities for future expansion. So these are some of the factors involved in basically demand and supply. So basically, differential pricing is it will shift some demand from peak to off-peak periods. Example includes low early evening movie prices and weekend discounts for car rentals. So these are some of the factors that companies use. Non-peak demand can be cultivated, like McDonald's pushes breakfast services and hotels promote mini vacation weekends. Complementary services, like provide alternatives to waiting customers, such as cocktail lounges in restaurants and automated teller machines in banks. Or reservation services or systems are a way to manage the demand level, like airlines or hotels or physicians employ them extensively. Well, on the supply side, though, we can serve like the peak demand, like colleges and part-time teachers when enrollment goes up. Stores hire extra clerks during holiday periods, and restaurants calling for part-time services when needed. Then peak time efficiency. Routines can allow employees to perform only essential tasks during peak periods. Paramedics assist physicians during busy periods. These are just examples. Or increased consumer participation can be encouraged. Consumers fill out their own medical records or bag their own groceries. So these are part of the consumers' contribution to the process. Then shared services can improve offering. Several hospitals can share medical equipment purchases. Or facilities for future expansion can be good investment, like an investment amusement park buys surrounding land for later development. So you see, all these are the steps that the companies take to sort of adjust the demand or the supply side and make sure they're doing the right job or they're on the right track. So it's very important to understand how they complement each other, or they sort of overlap, because the demand and supply, as you know, they are complementing each other. In the next few excuse me, in the next few semesters, we'll have economics as our course, one of our courses that we offer. And yeah, we will talk a lot more about demand and supply and how they contribute to the economy. But generally, they are complementing each other. So basically, the demand and supply are two factors, like two sides of the coin. So for you to manage the demand, you need to have enough supply, and so there should be a balance between the demand and supply. So when it comes to services, of course, like also the products, you need to be able to manage the supply and demand. You don't want to oversupply, or you don't want to say no to a demand that is in the market. You want to satisfy the demands that are already in the market. You want to supply enough, but you don't want to oversupply. So it's very important to be able to understand what is that line that you need to draw, that is your supply level, and how would you know and how would you react to different demand curves in the market, and accordingly supply enough or as much as you are required to. Any questions so far? Okay, there is no question. So let's go to the next slide. So yeah, peak time efficiency, Mr. Akmal, means when there is a peak time, when there is, let's say, busy times, okay, let's say rush hours for public transportation, because the service providers want to be efficient and provide the service required, they will do only the basic, or they're encouraged to just do essential tasks, and they might not do whatever they do during the day. Let's say for bars or restaurants, if the bartender used to come and like 2 times to ask for services, they can just come once, and then once for the billing, because they want to help all the customers. They can't just do like regular services that they do. They try to maximize their service, so they are allowed to minimize it to the level that is required task, not that extensive level of service provision. Okay, so we have factors leading to consumer switching behavior. So there are factors that cause the customers to switch. When it comes to services, customers become very picky. They switch very fast. If you are not helping them in a way that you're supposed to, if you're not giving them the service that they're looking for, they easily switch to another service provider. So what are those? One of them is pricing. Pricing is the most important factor, I would say, because if the price doesn't suit them or is not matching with the service they're getting, they definitely switch into another service provider. Inconvenience. So if they are inconvenienced or they don't get what they really look for, they definitely consider switching over to another service provider. Then core service failure, when you fail to provide them with a service that is your core service. So let's say if they come for massage and your massage is not good, but you have like nice supplementary drinks and everything, they don't care. They want a good massage, and if you don't provide them with that, they will go to another service provider. Or if you're a doctor and you are like a pleasant person, but you don't do your job right, you definitely lose your customers. Response to service failure. So also, when the failure happens, because it happens, mistakes happen, but how do you respond to that? Like IKEA is very famous for how they respond to the service failure. They have like, you return their products, they take it, and it's like they are very responsive to their failure. Then the competition, if the competition is so high, so the chance that the customer tries something new or different is very high, because they're always bombarded with the advertisement of a different new type of services that are provided in the market, so they might just go for it and give it a try. Ethical problems. If your company has an ethical problem, if you experience something ethical or you do something wrong and wrong the customers, they will definitely leave you and they won't just stay and give you another chance, especially when it comes to ethical problems. Involuntarily switching is when they have to switch sometimes because of their company switches them, or some product that they have is attached to another product. So they might have to switch sometimes, and unless you are able to undo that, or unless you are able to take care of that requirement. Because let's say if I have let's say iPhone, if I want to buy an iPhone, let's say I'm using another telephone provider other than AT&T, and then I want to go buy an iPhone. It's only AT&T and Verizon as two companies in the States that provide iPhones. So I won't be able to get iPhones and use in other telephones. So if I want to buy an iPhone, I have to switch over to AT&T. So that's a kind of concept that you're dealing with. Probably over there in different countries they have different, involuntary switching, but that's the concept. So, any questions so far? Yes, Mr. Rathor, yes. Technology could always be a switching cause, but it will show in one of these factors, because when technology comes, it will help a company to reduce their price, so that will be pricing. Or it brings convenience, and the company who has implemented or used that technology will give us more convenience, so that's how we switch over. Or it will stop the service failure, so we will switch over to that company that is utilizing that technology and has less service failure, or even less. They are more responsive, or they simply win the competition, or they take care of these involuntary switching. So you would see technology would be present in all these factors. It just shows itself in a different way. Okay, gaps that cause unsuccessful service delivery. Gap between consumer expectation and management perception is a huge problem. There's always a consumer expectation and management perception. So basically, how you manage what you're managing, how you deal with your customers, and how they perceive your services. But the difference of that with what is their expectation, what they want from you, is very important in service delivery. If they get something that is far too short of their expectation, they won't probably come back again. Then, gap between management perception and service quality specifications. So there's always a gap between the perception management and also the quality, the service quality that you have out there. Or gap between service quality specification and service delivery. So what you specify as your quality and your delivery of the service, there could be a difference there. Gap between service delivery and external communications. There's sometimes the gap between delivery of the service and sorry and the communication, the external communication that is happening. You can't communicate it properly, or there are sort of problems in there. And then the gap between perceived service and expected service. So that also is kind of interrelated with the first one, in the sense that the service that you perceive or you receive and the service that you expect to receive is they can match. So it's like mostly when the expectation is higher than the service, it's a problem. Sometimes they exceed your expectations, so that shouldn't be a problem. But when they short service you, or they give you less than what you require them, then the problem arises and you would not be happy as a customer. Okay. So we have determinants of service quality. What are the determinants of service quality? What basically makes the quality of service something that we would go for? This is also another important factor. So one of them is reliability. Reliability is like providing services as you promise, or dependability in handling customer service problems, or performing services right the first time, or providing services at the promised time, or maintaining error-free records, or employees who have the knowledge to answer the questions, like, do you have those kind of employees? All these are factors involving reliability. Are you a reliable company? Are you able to deliver your promises to your customers? Do you do things right the first time? So do you make mistakes, or you do them right? So that's all one of the determinants of the service quality. Then responsiveness, keeping customers informed as to when services will be performed. So be responsive. Customers require you to talk to them and communicate to them when the services will be performed. If they buy a service, they need a time frame to understand exactly when the service is going to be provided, how, the process. They need to be informed. Then prompt service to customers. They want it immediate. They want it right after the purchase. They want the service to be provided. They can't wait forever for your services. Then you need to be willing to help the customers. The willingness, the feeling, the attitude of you when you're providing the service matters a lot. Research shows that when, let's say in banks, when customers are acknowledged and waiting in line, they tend to be very much more happy than they just wait in line and don't be addressed or acknowledged. So this shows how they react when they are acknowledged and they know that you're willing to help. That willingness of help is very important to the customer. If they feel that you're doing your job just to do it without that behavior of helping, they wouldn't like it. They won't enjoy the service. One of the reasons people love Apple company is because their services. When you go to an Apple shop and you need some problem to be taken care of, they'll go out of their way to please you. They do anything for you, and they are willing to help, whatever it takes. So that's what matters when it comes to responsiveness. Then assurance. Assurance is employees will instill confidence in customers. They give you confidence that they will do whatever it takes for you to get the service you're looking for. Making customers feel safe in their transactions, or employees who are consistently cautious. So it's like giving them confidence is very important. Okay, I see a question here. Uh, how we can gap between the service delivery and external communications. Okay, so sorry I missed your question, Mr. Akmal. But the gap, it happens when you are delivering the service and you are failing to communicate with the customer promptly and correctly so that the service is delivered at the right time. Let's say pizza delivery is a service. If your communication is not correct, you won't be able to get the address done and everything, and then that will challenge the fact that you will be able to deliver the pizza. So then the customer will be unhappy because it will take you longer time to deliver the pizza, and so their perceived level of service would be lower than what you would do, because if you had the right address and you had the right tools to jot down the address correctly, then you would be able to deliver the pizza right at the right time. But when the customer is waiting for double the time that they would wait if you had the right address or you had jotted down in the proper way, then they would be unhappy. Probably that'll be the last time they buy the pizza from you. Pizza is just an example. It could be anything. It could be your computer. It could be like Dell has a lot of online or telephone support services, so you call them. So if it happens that you can't call them, or the problem exists when you want to call them and take care of your problem, you wouldn't buy Dell as a computer. So it goes a long way. The communication is a key issue when it comes to services. Then empathy. Empathy is giving customers individual attention. Employees who deal with customers in caring fashion, having the customer's best interest in heart, and employees who understand the needs of their customers. Convenient business hours, all these, having the customer in mind, just caring for the customer. All these matters, and the customer will notice that. And that's how successful companies are succeeding today, because they are taking all these into consideration, and customers will feel that. It's not something that you can hide. Then tangibles, modern equipment, visually appealing facilities, employees who have a neat professional appearance, visually appealing materials associated with their service. All these, tangibles, because he said services are intangible, but the presentation of the services, where we are offering the services, like if it's a bank, the bank itself, it can be neat and presentable. So you don't have to have a dirty place to offer your services, even though your services are great. But why don't you keep your your place where you're offering your services a nice place too? So that's something you can consider. Okay, so that's for that. Then best practices. Best practices is when strategic concepts. Uh, we talked a lot about best practices, like how best practices come into play, because top service companies are customer obsessed. They have a clear sense of their target customers and their needs. They know who are their customers, what are their needs, and how they are satisfied. They have developed a distinctive strategy for satisfying their needs. Top management commitment. So top management commitment is basically when the top management is committed to provide the best service. So companies such as Marriott or Disney and all those major companies, they have a thorough commitment to service quality. Their management look not only at financial performance on a monthly basis, but also at the service performance. Like McDonald's manager, Ray Kroc, he has insisted continually in measuring each McDonald's outlet on its conformance to QSCV, which is their quality, service, cleanness, and value. So you see how it plays a role when you are monitoring your services all the time. Then high standards. You need to have high standards. The best service providers set very high level of service quality. Like Citibank aims to answer phone calls within 10 seconds and customer letters within 2 days. So the standards must be set approximately high. Or 98% standard may sound good, but it would result in 64,000 lost FedEx packages a day. Can you imagine that? So if FedEx as a company is 98% accurate, you will have 64,000 lost FedEx packages a day. I mean, it's not the case, but so it should be 100%. So that's what I'm saying is like your quality of service needs to be as high as it can be. So you can't just shortchange customers at the service quality. That's what I'm saying, that the customers, they don't care for the product anymore because the product is everywhere. They can get their product anywhere. But what they cannot get and what you can give them that keep them there where you are in your organization or your company is just your service. How you attach those products to your services, or if you're only a service company, how you provide those services with all these factors in mind, and how you would be able to, surprise the customer. Okay. Then we have self-service technologies. That's also self-explanatory. They like convenience, like ATMs. Can you imagine banks without ATMs? You want to deposit money, take out money from ATMs. So basically, banking without ATM is unbelievable now. So the convenience of technology is something we seek. It's like ATMs are not that old. Banks are much older than ATMs, but now we can't imagine a bank without ATM. I mean, we don't like that because we like convenience. Then we have monitoring systems. The top firms audit service performance, both their own and competitors, on a regular basis. So, you're monitoring all the time, voice of the customers, measure the problem, customer satisfiers, dissatisfiers, what are problems, all these are very important. Then satisfying customers' complaints. Complaints are one of the major, rooms for improvement. Basically, there is this quote or saying that every complaint is a gift if handled well. So how can we handle because a complaint is a feedback from a customer. Don't forget, when a customer is upset, it's probably they're upset because of some certain loop in the system. So that loop in the system is something that has made them unhappy. So basically, that's a room for you to improve your services. So basically, for you to be able to satisfy that customer, that complaint is the first step. So you don't want to lose the chance of your dealing with your customer. Then satisfying employees. You want to satisfy your employees because they are those who are providing the services. So you got to satisfy them, you want to have satisfied customers who can help, the customers, because excellent service companies know that positive employee attitudes will promote a stronger customer loyalty. It will show. If your employee is happy, your customer will know. They'll see the happiness in the eyes of them. Partnership can be good practice, more relevant in non-profit organizations. Okay. Basically, customer partnership. Yep. Customer could always be part of the process. So even in nonprofit or for profit. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Developing brand strategies for services. So basically, we have to brand our services, choosing the brand elements, establishing image dimensions, and the revising brand strategy. These are also the factors you want to consider when you're dealing with a brand. So you choose your brand, the way it looks, they're intangible. So customers often make decisions and arrangements about them away from actual location. So the brand matters a lot. How you brand the service, how you present that service to your customer is very important. So one of the good examples of that is Cirque du Soleil, is a circus of the sun, the circus. They have been able to create that brand that when people hear that name, they will be willing to pay the very expensive price of the Cirque du Soleil compared to other circuses around, because their brand strategy includes a spectacular themed performance by circus players with elaborate costumes and new age music, and there are no animals, of course. So it's great. It's great how you implement and how you put all those images of your, or the power parts of your business into your image. That's or the brand is very important. And then finally, we are dealing with the customer worries, the failure frequency, downtime, out-of-pocket costs. These are all factors that cause the customer to leave a company or let's say a product or service that you're giving. If you have a lot of failures and a very high frequency of failures, they will not be happy with what you do. Or the downtime. If your downtime is quite common and you have the downtime a lot and the customers have to wait, or all these problems that you face, they wouldn't like it. Or out of the pocket cost. If they have to incur a lot of costs that they don't like, they wouldn't probably stay with your company. So that will be the end of this chapter. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, so since there is no questions, so let's go to the next chapter. Okay, who will design any other brand for? Companies mostly they get the designers or they will hire somebody to do that, but it should be very much related to the company, to the concept of the company. So big companies, they have a department that takes care of uh, the the brand and the design and everything. So for huge corporations, they have a department. Mostly it's in marketing department or in marketing department, and then they have a certain unit only for design and branding. So, but for small companies, for sure, they don't do it themselves. They outsource it. They get help. But what you need to understand and you need to always consider is that the image is not that you just choose a nice, beautiful image and it will work. The image should represent the essence of your company. If you're choosing a picture, even though it's a beautiful, awesome picture that might work for some companies, but if it doesn't work for you, it's not gonna be a good idea. So you need to know that that image and brand is what is gonna represent you, what is gonna show what you do. So that is very important, that image be meaningful and show you the way you want to show yourself. So don't just expect that a beautiful image, no matter how beautiful it is, help you to be successful. For you to be successful, especially regarding the image and the brand, it should represent you, what you are, your company does, and if it's successful and it's a good match, you will win. Okay. Uh, uh, mm, Make no mistake, SIM cards are not the brand, are not the design of the brand. We are talking about the brands like the images. Like when you see the M in yellow, that means McDonald's. When you see the FED in blue, you know it's FedEx. When you see the DHL, it's in yellow, the yellow color, it represents the DHL postal services. When you see the picture of an apple, it means the Apple company. So these are the images. We are talking about these brands, and these are designed for certain companies and they represent that company itself. So it's not just the shape of the product. Don't mistake that with the brand and image of the company. Image of the company is what people think of that company. When I say Apple, what comes to your mind when you hear that name? What comes to your mind when you see that logo of the Apple company? You know, that is what we mean by image and the brand. And especially for services, it's much more important because for you to see the product, there is no tangible product out there. They are a service company. So the only way for you to tangibilize or to, create something, see something tangible is that image or brand. So if they fail forever because you won't be able to connect, So that's what we mean by that. Okay. So now we are talking about developing pricing strategies. What are the factors in pricing strategies? That's also very important because we're dealing with price. What are the questions we are going to cover in this chapter? How do consumers process and evaluate prices? How should a company set prices initially for products or services? How should a company adapt prices to meet varying circumstances and opportunities? When should a company initiate a price change? And how should a company respond to a competitor's price challenge? So all these questions will be covered in this chapter. Okay, synonyms for price. So, price is a general term, and in business, we have many different ways to call something, which is exactly the same concept, which is price. So rent, tuition, fee, fare, rate, toll, premium, honorarium, a special assessment, bribe, dues, salaries, commission, wage, and tax. All of them are different ways to go, to grasp the concept of price. They are pretty much the same. It's just price. So people call it differently, but it's price. Okay, so what are the common pricing mistakes? When you determine the cost and take traditional industry margins. So it's not a good practice to just, take whatever it is as the cost as it's given to you, because it's not going to be the case. Because some companies, they just say, okay, this is our cost and these are the margins. So that way it will confuse you. You won't be able to, to survive. failure to revise prices to capitalize on market changes. So these two are kind of interrelated. When you just set a price, when you say this is our cost, this is our margin, and you you say it out loud, then when there are changes in the market, you won't be able to change the prices because the price is already set. The customer will say, okay, you said this is your price. Now this is a different price. I'm not going to buy this from you because you're not, you're not giving me the same price. But the fact is there are changes happening to the market every single day. And according to those changes, the price change would be also something that we should consider and we will consider. So we can't just say, okay, we just keep our prices at what it is, no matter how much we are going to pay or how much it's going to cost us to provide those products or services. We're still going to keep our prices the same. That's impossible. That's insane. Setting prices independently of the rest of the marketing mix. We talked about marketing mix. We never forget our marketing mix. Somebody please name out the marketing mix for me. One of the classmates, could you please write it down or say it out loud to me? What are the marketing mix elements, please? Okay, somebody, please. Hello. Price, place, okay. And two more. Yes. Very good. Very good. Yes. So it comes with the yeah, the plane. There's no plane. We have product, promotion, price, and place. I think there was a typo that you had. You meant place, Mr. Shah. Okay, very good. Thank you. Yeah. Also, these marketing mix we never forget. Those are the foundations of marketing. We need to understand those four are our reference for marketing. So if you want to set the price excluding any of these four, you are making a big mistake. You got to consider them all because those are very important in determining the price of your product. I mean, price is one of the four P's in itself, but they are intermingled. You can't set the price without knowing your place. Your price in some other places might be more than your price in some other places. Like a McDonald's, like a burger, like a double burger, or like a Big Mac. If you buy it in Malaysia and if you buy it in the United States, there are different prices. Even when you convert the dollar into their currency, the final price would be different because you're selling it in a different place. And your promotion is different, and your product is different, and all these factors of the 4P are different. So you can't just say, okay, let's just sell it because it's we should set the same price. You can't just do that. Failure to vary price by product item, market segment, distribution channels, or any purchase occasion. You need to be able to have a variable pricing techniques. You need to be able to respond to your segments, distribution channels, the purchase occasion. So according to all these factors, you need to be able to set a different price. If you are not able to do that, then you would be very limited to your ways of earning money. So these are basic concepts of business. You are not there. I mean, sometimes you are running a non-for-profit organization. Even for non-for-profit organization, you have different costs for all these factors. You have different costs for different market segments and distribution channels and purchase occasion. So your focus in a non-for-profit organization probably would not be as much as it is for a for-profit organization on these factors, but still you will have different price for all these basically parts. So it's true for every single company. You have a different price according to your segment, your distribution channel, the occasion of the purchase. But if it's a non-for-profit, you will charge your customers differently. But it doesn't change the concept that your pricing is different, you know? So these are fundamental concepts of marketing. The pricing is one of the 4 Ps. It's very important to understand how we go about pricing. Okay, consumer psychology and pricing. So consumer psychology and pricing is also important. Why is it important? Because many economists assume that consumers are price takers and accept prices at face value or as a given. But marketeers recognize that consumers often actively process price information and interpret the price according to their knowledge, and then they'll make decisions. So basically, they have their own references. They use the formal communication, which is advertisement, brochures, or whatever. The informal communication, friends, colleagues, families, then point of purchase or online resources, or all these factors will be taken into consideration when they are going to make a decision for price. So you can't just expect them to buy what you want them to buy. They will consider all these techniques and cues and ways for getting the price they want. So you got to be careful. It's not that you can just say, okay, I want to sell them this price, and they'll buy it. It's not true. So just to explain shortly there, it's like reference prices. We mean research has shown that customers may have fairly good knowledge of the range of the prices. So they employ reference prices, compare the prices. Then they price quality inferences. Then many customers use prices as an indication of the quality. The more expensive, the more qualified. So you got to be careful. If you're really a high qualified, high-end product provider or service provider, you wouldn't set your price as low as possible, because that doesn't help you. Because the perception, the general perception is that quality comes with price. Then price ending. Then price endings are the belief that the prices should end in an odd number, So customers see an item price $2.99 in the 200 rather than 300 range, So the research has shown that the consumers tend to process prices in a left to right manner rather than by the surrounding prices. So a price which is $299, the chance of a customer buying a product which is priced $299 and $300 is much more, because they will conceive of it as a 200 range, not 300, even though it's only $1 less. But the chance that they buy that is more. So that's very important. Even though it's almost 300, it's just $1 short of a 300, but the fact that it's $2.99 causes the customer buy, and basically the research supports this idea. Price cues. Price cues are basically when there are different cues or elements to the price that causes the customer to think of a price for a product. So they say, okay, this should be this much or that much. So then we have possible consumer references like fair price, whether the price is fair or not, typical price, last price paid, upper bound price, and lower bound price, competitor prices, expected future prices, usual discounted prices. All these are different references for the customers regarding the prices. So Basically, what we mean by that is, I'm sorry, uh, uh, sometimes the price is fair. It's like it's a good price. Sometimes it's like in typical, usual market price. Sometimes it's last price paid according to certain products that they bought. It's just the last pay for the price. And then like for the higher end or lower end kind of price, or the competitor prices is the price that the competitors charge, and we are sort of matching that expected future prices. What are the expected future prices for a product? That's also something that the customer will refer to. And also usual discounted prices. They'll look at your sales or discounts and then they make their decisions. So these are also factors that they consider. So here we have some examples. So overvalued brands, consumers' perception, reality for cars. So some of the brands that are overvalued are Land Rover, Kia, Volkswagen, Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, but some of them are undervalued. So overvalued brands who perceive quality exceeds actual quality by percentage. And then undervalued are brands whose actual quality exceeds perceived quality by percentage. So overvalued, basically what we mean is self-explanatory. What the perception of the customer is higher than the real value. Undervalued is the real value is higher than the perception of the customer. So you see these brands, and that's all about image and the company, the way they communicate. It goes back to the previous chapter a lot, but then it helps them with their pricing. So when a car like Volvo is overvalued, it would be okay if I overcharge the customer because they'll pay for it because they think Volvo is a good car, is a better car. But I wouldn't be able to overcharge a customer for Buick or a Lincoln because they think of the quality of the product as something less than what it really is. So that is something you got to consider. Uh, Whether your products are overvalued or undervalued, that tells you a lot regarding your prices. Okay, so these are some cues for pricing. We talked about left to right pricing, odd number discount perceptions, even number value perceptions, ending prices with 0 or 5. These are good. Sale written next to price. I mean, even though your sale might be not that tremendous, but when you write sale, that sale is something that helps the customer to decide and buy the product. So these are all these marketing techniques you use to help the customers, decide and buy. So when to use price cues. Customers purchase items infrequently, and customers are new, and product designs vary over time, prices vary seasonally, and quality or sizes vary across the stores. Yeah, I mean, for price, you see that the prices end in 5, like 225 or 220. So that basically helps the customer, and research shows that those kind of prices are appealing to the customers. They will go for it. Then uh, all these are some other cues for the customers to make purchases. Then steps in setting prices. Select the price objective, determine the demand, estimate cost, analyze competitor price mix, select pricing method, and select final price. So this is like a regular checklist for setting your price. First, what is your objective of the price? What type of market you're heading for? What type of customers are you looking for? And where in the market or what segment of the market are you standing at? Then what is the demand? Is it like a huge demand for that product, or are you oversupplying or not? Are you in demand or you're not? So that helps a lot to understand. Then see what is your cost. Make sure you will have some profit on top of your cost. You can't just sell your product at your cost level. You will be out of business as soon as possible. Analyze the competitor price mix. See how the competitors set their price. So that helps you a lot. You can benchmark and measure and match and compare. Select pricing method. You have a method for your pricing. Let's say this is my cost plus this much profit plus this much margin or whatever, or commission or whatever. So have a certain formula for your price. Select final price. So then have final price in mind. And selecting the pricing objectives. The survival, the maximum current profit, maximum market share, maximum market skimming, product quality leadership. So these are all different factors in setting the pricing objective. So you want the price to survive in the market. You want it to be able to go through the test of time and be able to stay. You want to maximize your profit. Your price should give you as much profit as possible as you can. Of course, you can't just double the price to double your profit. We are talking about a reasonable, sensible price, but that price should be at the highest level possible. Going back to the demand and supply concept, when you're supplying a product, if you're setting it, the price is at the right price, your demand would be as much as it's supposed to be. If you overprice, your demand will decrease, and there will be a sort of adjustment there. So, but you want to make sure your price meets that adjustment level. You don't want to underprice your product, because you lose out. Then your market share, you want to set a price that gives you the highest amount of market, because if you are overpriced too much, customers won't buy your product. You want to be careful and make sure you have a good share of the market and people come and buy from you, like you have as much as possible. Then you scan in the market. You look into the market, see where you can go, what segments of the market you can try. So you're just looking for other chances. And product quality leadership. You want to be one of those quality leadership products. You want to have a high quality for your product. So, any questions so far? Okay, since there is no question, let's just do this slide, and then we will do the task afterwards. So this will be our last final slide today. We talked about demand, right? We just said that demand is one side of the coin, that what customer look for and come for. So we have certain concepts for demand that determine the demand level. One of them is price sensitivity. Price sensitivity basically takes care of the fact that sometimes some products are price sensitive, some are not. Some products that are not price sensitive means that they are, no matter how different the price goes, the consumption and the demand would be still the same, are basic need products, So let's say a good example is, water, water or food. People need that regardless. They can't survive without water. So the price is basically just the demand stays the same if the price goes up. So if the water becomes more expensive, customer will suffer, but they will still buy the water. or bread or rice or stuff like that. Then so that would say that that product is inelastic to the price. So it will still the same even though the price goes up. But some products, if the price goes up, people will stop buying. There are some certain products, they're not that important. They just stop buying them. So like, I don't know, some chocolates or some stuff like that, people don't care for it that much. They can just stop buying if the price goes tremendously high. And then the demand curves, like the demand curves basically works along with the supply. So there is a demand, it goes up and then goes down. So you gotta make sure you're supplying as much as there is a demand. If you oversupply, then the demand will go down. Then the price elasticity of the demand we just talked about. It's when it's price elastic, means if the price goes up, the demand goes down. Means like the case of the chocolate. But when it's inelastic, is when the price goes up, the demand doesn't change or still goes up because it's for basic needed products. We can't change that. So, is there any questions so far? Okay. So if there is no question, let's do the task. Uh-huh. Okay. So I want you to answer this first question. How do consumers process and evaluate prices? So basically, we talked about it a lot, how they do that. I want you to put it in your own words. Use use the slides that we talked about, and uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, tell me, how do you think consumers will uh, process and evaluate the price? You put yourself in the shoes of a consumer. You could be a consumer, right? We are consumers at the same time we are product providers. So we definitely understand. Just think about how you will decide and process and evaluate the price. So use these slides and also your own experience. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about it and we will discuss further. Okay. So, Mr. Rafa, would you like to read out your example for us? Please go ahead and explain to us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Puyan. I got from the lessons that customers, when they evaluate the prices, they do think of and they compare a specific price with other companies or service providers who provide similar products or services. And then quality is also important to take into consideration the quality of one specific product or services when they want to buy. And then we learned about price endings and price cues.
Very good.
For example, you put some specific figures so that that figure will be attractive to consumers, and they think of they perceive that price as a cheap price.
Okay, very good. Very good, thank you. Beautiful, that's true. Basically, as we discussed, they have their own perception of the price according to the quality of the products or services that you provide, and then they measure it up and see if it matches their understanding or their perception of your product, and they make decisions. That's very true. Then we have some other examples. So that was Mr. Rafa, and then we have Mr. Navabi's market assessments for quality goods, fair price, competitive price are often considered by consumers. Yeah, that's true. Comparing quality, price, sustainability, or lifetime, exactly, very good point, Mr. Barak. Mr. Savi, last price paid will be best source. That's true. Mr. Akmal, well, consumers usually process and evaluate prices based on the original price of the company, which can be competitor price in the market, also having company price discount and quality services and practice price. That's true. Evaluation. Okay. Mr. Safi, please go ahead and explain that for us if you like. I see your hand raised. Would you want to explain it to us? We can't hear you. Okay. Okay, anybody else wants to talk about their explanations, or Mr. Akmal, Mr. Safi, or Mr. Barak, or Mr. Navabi? Would you like to explain your answers? So basically, what we discussed today is very important. We are dealing with our corporations and companies all the time. We are providing products, services, whether it's NGO or non-for-profit or it's for-profit. We have a certain price for our product. We have a certain cost. So pricing is very important in a company. So how you decide to put the price is basically how you present yourself in the market. Is one of your venues for communication with your customers. If you fail in that, that will be a very big failure, because customers, that's a message you're sending to your customers. You got to be careful what you are dealing with when you are discussing your prices with your customers. So they have their own perception, they have their references. You got to be considering all those references that they use to find out the price that you actually are worth, your product is worth, and then decide. So you need to consider them all and be able to uh, to support your price when you're asked by the customer why is it that you're charging this much. You got to be able to support the reason behind and the policy and everything, so the customers will care. A price is very important, even though we have loyal customers who will pay regardless and they don't care for the price as much, but still is a very big consideration for customers. They still consider the price, and it's very important to them. So you can't just disregard that fact. Uh, so, so basically, pricing is really important when you want to set yourself in a high-end or low-end product or service provider level. So keep that in mind, and know that we like as companies, you are supposed to benefit and make profit. So you can't just give a price which is unrealistic and it's just your cost and you don't earn any money. So we said we have to maximize the profit. At the same time, we got to consider that we want the share of the market that is possible. So all these play a role. It's just how you marry them together and make a bridge between them all, and be able to charge as much as you're supposed to charge. So pricing is one of the most important fundamentals for making the profit. You need to analyze your cost, know how much you want to. You need to have a formula or method to set the price, and and it's suitable for your market. So very good. Good examples, good class participation. I thank you all. We have two more sessions. One will be a lecture and one will be presentation. I want to give you an extension I have given you. So there might be a change in the class time. Maybe next week we wouldn't have a class, so that we would have two classes in a row the 2 weeks after. But this will be communicated to you by the admin. I will talk to them and see what's the best situation. So we will have two more sessions. This was the second last. Not the second last. We have two more sessions, and then we will have your presentation. Please keep on working on your individual and group projects. They are almost there. It's just two or three more weeks. Basically, for your presentation, it's 3 more weeks. So dear classmates, I need your comments on assignments. Okay. I don't understand your message, Mr. Barak. Are you addressing your teammates? Okay, I make another clarification. It's too late, but you have it on the system of the school, and I have emailed you and everything. Okay, no problem. I will just explain one more time. Your individual project is where you give me an executive or short summary of your learnings in this course and your business strategy class, and how you will apply it in your own career. If you're working in a non-for-profit organization, profit no matter what, I want a very practical explanation of what you learned and how it's going to be useful for you. So that's your individual. Your group project, you have it in detail. You have a group leader you can refer to, but your group project is also no. That individual project is due also on the same day. It's an executive summary. It could be up to 10 pages. So that's different. The task that I'm giving you is this question. Like I asked you, the question that I typed, you just send it to me next day. So that's what have been the case for the last all the last sessions. So basically, what I said is what makes the consumer to compare the price. So it's just you answer that question and then send it to me. So that's what is due next day. You don't have to send it to me that individual project by tomorrow. You can send it to me in 2 weeks' time. Just work on it, make it better. Don't rush it. Use your time and try to do a good job because that's your assessment. Please consider working hard on your group project and your individual project because that's how I will evaluate your performance. So you don't have to send it before the final submission. Work on it and take your time. And I'll wish you all the best of luck. So if there is no more question, we will end the session today. And thank you all for coming to the class. And I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.